Welcome to I Guess, a show where I hate everything until someone convinces me otherwise. I'm Lex Basile Price, and I think that you should give children little nips of wine before bed. With me today is the beautiful and hilarious Jaydan Heather Malsky. Hi.
Hi.
I'm so happy you're here.
I'm so happy to be here.
What are you wrong about?
What am I wrong about, or what are you wrong about?
Oh, I mean, we'll see by the end.
Okay, so here's what I came prepared to talk about. I came here, and now I'm seeing that there are so many books here.
Yes.
I am a huge book person. I love books, and I'm going to get specific about something. I truly believe that everybody should be reading 2 books at once.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see that look. I can see that.
I am a very quick reader. I've always been a very quick
fast reader.
Yeah.
Okay.
So partially, I just read one at a time, mostly because I'm reading them fast anyways.
Okay.
And I have found that I was very opposed to e-books for a long time.
Really?
Because I like the tactical feel of them. Obviously, I've got a million books. But I also like to read at night. And I can't resist the siren's call of a self-illuminated ebook at night.
Isn't it nice?
Yes. And then especially being in the city, I have to pop it in my little crossbody bag. So I'm usually just reading one on the ebook.
That's fair. No, but can I ask you this now?
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Have you ever read a book and thought, this is bad?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Now, let me ask you a follow-up. Are you somebody that can abandon a book?
It depends on how much of the book I've read.
Okay. All right.
If I've read less than 30% of the book, I'll abandon it.
Okay. Wow.
That was new, though.
Yeah.
I didn't used to. I used to power through, and then I realized there is too much good literature out there for me to waste my time on something that I hate.
That is such a good point, and I hear you.
Okay.
It is very hard for me to abandon a book.
I understand why.
It is really, really hard. Because here's what I think. I think somebody put their time and their effort and their dedication into it. And also, not for nothing, but it's like that quote, that Jennifer Coolidge quote, if you feel bad about something, go see bad art.
That's true.
If you feel bad about your career, if you feel bad about taking something bad, just so you can say, wow, that got made.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
So I also like finishing because of that. Now, here's my thing. Is sometimes books are worse than being a bad book is a meh book.
I fully agree with you
I
on
cannot
that. I will agree
handle
with you on that
it.
point. I read a book recently that was, I'll call it, I don't care. It was billed as like a sequel-esque, spiritual sequel to House on the Hill.
Okay.
Great book.
Yeah.
This book was so boring, and the dialogue was so wooden. I was like, well, you've taken all the enjoyment out of the original book. I was immediately fine letting that go.
Yeah. But here's what I'll say, and this is, I feel like I'm taking a long time to get
No.
point, but I'm going to get there.
I think you have to build a strong case.
I am really trying to build a strong case here. One thing to have a bad book, and within the first 2 chapters, you're like, you know what?
Dump it.
I get it. Not for me.
Yeah.
I'm abandoning it. That's fine. But having a mad book, you don't want to finish it because you're like, what? How many times have you been reading a book and then 60% in, you're just like, oh, fuck, here it is. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So this is why I like having 2 books to read at once. Now, I do stipulate that it's a fiction and a nonfiction.
Okay.
Because those are 2 different types of
fully.
Reads. And so if you're having a meh experience with a book, having another book that you can go read 3 chapters, I love a 3-in-1, where I'm reading a book that I don't like.
Sure.
And I'm like, I'm trying to get through this. So 1 chapter, and then I go read this other book for 3 chapters. And then I go back and forth. And that's how I power through and get through a meh book.
A meh book.
Yeah.
Because bad book, you can kind of just, in some way, either throw it away or you're like, oh, this is terrible. I can't wait to tell someone how terrible
I know. I read, oh gosh, it was probably last year at some point. I read one of these romance novels. I don't even know where I got it. I saw it.
Right.
It promised to be lesbian, you've got mail.
Okay.
It was literally You've Got Mail. And it was so unbelievably bad. And I kept thinking, like, it's going to get better. But the thing that then stuck out to me was that, like, the one lady was introduced as this, like, wine connoisseur. And so they went on this date, and she like,
I know where this is going.
Oh, yeah?
I feel like I know where this is
so
going.
They're on this date, and the woman's like, oh, I'm so impressed she's a wine connoisseur. And she's like, I'll let you, order the wine. And the woman's like, we will have a bottle of this sweet Riesling. And I'm like, oh, no, that's not.
No.
That's a wine my mother drinks because she doesn't like wine.
Right. She wants something sweet to get her drunk. That is I feel like people, anytime in any kind of media, when you set your character as a great something or an expert, you are setting yourself up to fail. Whenever they do, like, especially a film where they're like, what a great artist. And then they show the art and you're like, baby, that's bad. Writers, too. The best thing you can do if you are a creator, the best thing you can do if you want to say this person is great at their thing, never, ever show an example.
Yeah.
Let us believe.
Yes, just let us believe. Or be that good at your research.
Yeah, but so few people are.
I know. It's crazy. Anyway, so this book, it was so bad that I kept, and then there was another thing with the drink too later on, and I was just like, what is,
that's author's own opinion. They're like, nothing beats a sweet Riesling.
and this cider mix that she was like, yeah, I didn't even know cider came in like a packet, like a mix packet, but it did. It's so bizarre. It was so weird. It
totally took you out.
It took me completely out of it. However, there is a sequel, and I'm going to be reading it.
Sure.
Because I'm like, I want to see how badly this author can top themselves. Like,
now it's a challenge. Were you always a big reader, or was that something you came later? Yeah.
No, I mean, I was like, when I was a kid, I like in elementary school, I read like that Eli Wiesel book, Night. Like, I know it was like, recommended reading or something, but it was also like a very depressing story. And I was like, I'm good to go. hit me, baby.
Yeah, I was the kid reader that I couldn't go to sleep unless I finished the chapter. Like that was a no-go. Mostly though, I would just read the entire book at night.
Right.
And then in some ways, I feel like it was both to challenge me because obviously I was getting through books faster, and also they could tell what child they had. Yeah. My grandmother at 9, gave me Interview with a Vampire.
Oh my God, Anne Rice.
Oh
my God.
So I was reading Anne Rice as a child, a literal child, and was like, yes,
I'm obsessed.
I love this.
That's so funny. Have you ever read the gay things that her son wrote?
Yes,
Christopher Rice.
They
were so horny.
They were very horny.
Oh my God.
They were like detective novels, or there was one that was a detective novel.
I remember reading his first one. His name is Chris Rice.
Yeah, Christopher Rice. There was one, it was like something forest or something trees.
I remember.
Frozen Forest. I remember reading these.
They were so horny.
Very horny.
They were so horny.
And he learned the right lessons from his mother.
Yeah.
Not the Christian lessons. Those came later.
So did you ever read Feast of All Saints?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I have not read it. I tried to get into it at one point and I couldn't. And I was like, I think this is just not the time for me and for this book. So I didn't abandon it completely.
It's still there.
I
could not get into her erotica. That was the one thing I couldn't. The like Cinderella, whatever, Sleeping Beauty, BDSM, couldn't get into it. But I was always a quick reader. And so I was just anything that wasn't assigned to me, I was just reading.
Right.
All the time.
Yeah. Yeah, same. I mean, I was such a geek about it. I loved it. I loved reading. I mean, for Christmas, that's all I ever asked for.
Oh, yeah. The book fair was the best time.
Oh, it's
best time of year.
It's the best. It's the best.
So you read nonfiction too,
I read a lot of nonfiction.
Okay. That's where I've always found it hardest for myself to read nonfiction.
Why?
I think partially it's a topic. I have to find very specific topics. I have found that I consume nonfiction a lot easier and faster when it's through audiobook form.
Okay. All right.
Because fiction, I have trouble sometimes with the audiobook, because if the narrator's bad, if the speed is wrong, if it's too many proper nouns, because I read a lot of genre fiction, it's too much to hold in my head. And I'm also usually doing a million other things while I'm listening to an audiobook. Right. But I can listen to a nonfiction and like understand it pretty well. And probably because my ears have been primed with so much podcast listening.
Yes.
But I feel like for people that have trouble getting into nonfiction, audiobooks are kind of the way.
It's funny because to me, audiobooks, I don't listen to a lot of them. I think the last one I listened to was Barack Obama's, because it was so dense. It was so dense, and I was just like, I can't wrap my head around this.
Yeah.
But he also reads it. Like, he reads it, and so it's so soothing.
Yeah, there's a comfort.
And this is also deep COVID, so I would like...
Oh, why would you need to listen to the dulcet tones of Barack Obama?
It was deep COVID, and I would play my Switch, like usually a Mario Kart or Mario. I was like the Mario Brothers, like the actual game. And so I would play that and listen to Barack Obama, and then like check my work email.
You're like,
beat a level, pause Barack, and then be like, anybody need me?
No. You're just like, I want to be a child in my pajamas, listening to my father figure as I play video games.
Yes, exactly. Oh my gosh.
So would you count listening to an audiobook and reading a book at the same time too? Or is that a bonus?
No, it's funny that you ask that, because I don't know where I firmly stand on that. I would argue, I think that it's a bonus.
I see, that's where I would fall. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't consider, if I did your challenge of 2 books, I would feel like I was cheating if I was listening to one of the books. So I agree.
See, it's interesting that you just called it a challenge. I think it's a lifestyle.
Okay.
And I think it's a lifestyle everybody needs to be doing.
I mean, I will agree with you that I think not enough people read.
I do also think, like, that's where, if I had come into this today and you'd been like, I don't like to read, I would have been like, well, great. I have 2 steps.
Yeah, 2 steps.
2 convincing things to do.
But yeah, because I think, granted, apparently people aren't being taught to read anymore, which is crazy.
It's insane.
But let's get past that first hurdle. I think getting people to read, like, I grew up in a house where my mother read and my grandmother read, but my dad really didn't, and my sisters didn't. I was the reader, basically. And I never figured out why. Like, I saw it as like one of the best things you could do, and especially by yourself. Yeah. But so many people are just not either interested, and I always feel like you just didn't find the right books, I think.
I guess, or maybe you have, like, I understand some people have like a,
some like dyslexia or
something like that, which I read about in Cher's memoir. She has dyslexia. Yep. Did you read Cher's memoir?
I did not.
Okay, you should. It's crazy. Like, we all know that Cher is a survivor.
Right.
But you don't really realize how much she's a survivor until you read her story. And there are moments in that book that are so hard to, like, just understand and comprehend. Like, she's talking about how she'd be in the studio with Phil Spector. She was talking specifically about when they recorded Christmas Baby Please Come Home. Darlene Love's version. Cher is one of the background singers on that. From the like 60s, the original, which is a crazy fact. And she's talking about it. She's like, yeah, we were in the studio and, it was taking a while. So then she refers to Phil Spector as Philip Spector the whole time, which is so weird. Cause I'm like,
she's like, I'm putting remove.
Yeah. She's like, just in case people remember this terrible man.
Maybe if she says Philip Spector, people won't know who she's talking about. The crazy person that murdered his wife with a big afro.
So she keeps calling him Philip Spector, and she said Philip said, sent all of us home and then they were going to work on something. She goes home. She's like staying with somebody. She's staying with a roommate, and I guess the roommate's boyfriend came home, didn't know it was her in the bed, and started and just basically Cher just described an assault,
right?
But it was accidental. And so then, like, once he realized what was happening, he left. And then she goes, I was so tired, but then I got up the next day and went and finished recording Christmas Baby Please Come Home. And I'm like, now I have this weird, terrible, insane knowledge. I'm never going to hear that song the same again.
Like The Ring, she's imparted upon you, and now you've imparted it upon me.
I'm so sorry.
Why was that not in the Broadway show, the Cher show?
Oh, they really kind of
because they did sing Half Breed about half a dozen times, so maybe there wasn't room.
I guess so. So actually, okay, this actually brings me to the point that thank you for bringing up the Cher show, because when I was reading like a review of the book, somebody said, there was this mention of Stephanie J. Block helped with the audiobook because Cher is dyslexic. And so in my mind, I left with that impression that like Stephanie J. Block was like, hey, let's take it, like, I don't know, just like in the studio with her, helping her out. My friend said that he had like downloaded the audiobook and was listening, and every chapter is Cher for 3 to 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden it just switches and it's Stephanie J. Block doing a Cher impression.
That's like certifiable.
It is so insane. It is so insane.
Why not just have Stephanie J. Block do it all?
I don't know. I haven't listened.
Well, now I have to listen to it.
I know you do.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
See, why don't people read?
I don't know. I don't know why people don't read. Everybody should be reading, and preferably
2 books at once, plus an audiobook.
Oh, that's the dream.
I am stunned by that information.
I know. I haven't actually listened to it myself. I need to go on YouTube and find
clips.
I'm sure there is somebody has to be like, this is batshit, right?
Could you imagine a person who was like, didn't know about that and just was like, oh, why does Cher sound different all of a sudden?
Well, it's funny because my friend Patrick was the one he was like, I didn't know that that's what was happening. And I'm listening, and he was like in the car, and he's like,
the audio quality fully changes.
Yeah. And he was like, this is so weird. And then he like researched it, but then he was telling his partner about it. And like his partner was in the car one time, like doing work. And Patrick was like, I'm going to listen to this. And all of a sudden the change happened. And his partner just started laughing so hard.
Oh my God. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I can't wait. I could see myself. I will give you this. I could see myself reading a tangible book, material book. A book,
not an ebook.
Yeah,
not an audiobook.
And then also reading an ebook, because I borrow all my ebooks from the library.
Yes.
Which, if you don't borrow your books from the library and you have an e-reader, you're doing it wrong.
You really are. It's so great.
And secret, because I grew up poor, if you borrow multiple books from the library, download them all, turn on airplane mode, the books will eventually get returned to the library, but they will stay on your device.
Oh my God, that is a brilliant hack.
And sometimes, for no discernible reason, those books will never return to the library. They just stay on your device. I have books that I just have.
So then what happens when you try to, like, at some point you have to go back on the Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
And then they could disappear.
They could disappear.
Yeah.
So that you are putting that in your hands, or you can just rent them out again.
Yeah.
But what I'll do is, because I read so fast, I'll read like 10 of them or whatever, and then you also can.
I love your hacks.
You can also schedule your holds. So if a hold comes in, but you're not ready to turn on your book yet, you can just say deliver it in a week, and then the books all start building, and then you just keep deferring, and then eventually you'll have 8 books ready to go, and then you d.
So can I ask you a follow-up question?
Yes.
When you say that you read fast, give me how many books a week do you read, or how many books a month do you read?
Probably around, I'm reading between 3 and 4 books a month. Those books are probably, because they're genre fiction a lot of the time, they're 600, 800 pages.
Oh, wow.
So
that's a lot.
Yeah.
So are you on Goodreads?
I am, though I have found out that there's Storygraph.
You are the third person in, I'm not kidding you, less than 2 weeks that has told me about this. And now I'm like, do I have to go and do that and try to convince all my Goodreads friends to meet me over there?
You can. And they do have a thing on Storygraph. there's like a walkthrough of how it pulls all of your data from Goodreads, and so it populates it so you don't have to refill it all out.
Okay. All right. This is huge.
Yeah.
Storygraph is where it's at. Evidently.
I think it's where it's at.
It's not tied to Amazon. And
Correct.
It's funny because I keep saying, I was like, I don't understand why Amazon isn't invested. Amazon bought Goodreads. Like that wasn't, it's not like something they invented. They bought it and now they just let it kind of like deteriorate.
It just kind of doesn't do anything.
It's like literally collecting dust for the, I mean, I'm sure it doesn't have any a good amount of users or whatever, but like, I love it. And
I love keeping track of what I read.
Yeah.
So and it's definitely easier with ebooks and stuff to be like, you finish the book and it's like, rate the book.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And it populates it eventually. But yeah, I shifted over to Storygraph.
Oh my gosh. Okay. We should be friends on Storygraph. When I set up my account. So do you have I'm going to ask this question and I don't know if there's a Storygraph version of it, but like, do you have a Goodreads goal for your year?
No, I used to think about like, can I have a goal of like such and such a number of books?
Yeah.
But I'm reading so many that I'm just kind of like, it would start getting like ridiculous. And also I do read like, it is for my mental health. And I almost like, part of me doesn't want to tie a like separate goal other than just the enjoyment of reading.
That's true. I'm a competitive person.
I'm so competitive with like everything. I'm like, let books be safe from that.
That's fair.
From myself.
My other topic I was going to bring in was everybody can do a triathlon.
You know what? Good you didn't, because I would be like, no, I hate running. This is perfect, actually. I am not bad at running.
Okay.
But I despise it.
Okay.
And growing up, I would, because I used to battle with insomnia, still do, but now I'm medication. Every year, once a year, one time a year, I would not be able to sleep. I would just run for 5 miles or whatever, come home, be crashed out the entire day. And my family, because they're horrible and mean, were like, oh, someone went for their one run this year. And it was just like, it is. Thank you so much for supporting me in my endeavors and the fact that I can't sleep because my brain doesn't shut off. But we don't want to give me medication because that makes the problem stronger. No, it doesn't. Janice, not my mom's name.
See, now I wish I had come in with, you're wrong about turkey trots. I think everybody should be doing turkey trots on Thanksgiving morning. I think they're so fun.
That's an easy sell. That's cute.
But I will say this isn't the main topic. This isn't the main
That's
thing
okay.
I'm trying
That's okay.
But I will say I do believe that triathlons are, if you can swim and you can bike and you can run,
which I can do all those things.
You can do a sprint triathlon. The distances are so short. It is just, it feels like an obstacle course.
Okay.
And it's so much fun to do these like 3 things. It's like a 90-minute workout.
That's not too bad.
It's not bad. And it's so much fun.
That's too bad. I could see myself doing that with like a small group of people.
Yeah.
As like
absolutely
motivating.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not one of those stupid like Spartan races, which are...
I have to get muddy to prove how masculine I am.
I have done a bunch of them, and they are fun. But there is something exhausting about them.
Yes.
And there's something exhausting about the culture of Spartan people. They just are... I'm like, you are not people I want to hang out with. No. I know you're not going to leave here and like house pancakes and eggs. I know you're gonna like leave here and be like, I'm gonna have my mung bean sprouts and shit. I
go back to my P90X.
Yeah. Ugh.
Just admit you're nerds. You're nerds for fitness.
Anyway, back to books. Where the real nerds are.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? I think I read a study recently that people who read in general are more empathetic. And then the more specific the genre, the even more empathetic. Like sci-fi and fantasy tend to have very high empathy for people.
Interesting.
I guess because you have to like imagine things differently. You can then imagine how other people might feel.
Absolutely.
Which is wild, but it totally makes sense.
It's so funny that you say that because I don't read a lot of sci-fi. I just not like generally not my thing. Even like with movies, it's not my like Like, I love Dune. I haven't read Dune. You know, I love seeing Dune. Like, but I'm not like a huge Star Wars person. But I love Jurassic Park.
You know what I would love to give for you?
What?
Because you said lesbian erotica before.
Yes.
I have a sci-fi book that I think you might like.
Okay, I want it. I want the recommendation.
It's called Gideon the Ninth.
Gideon the Ninth.
It's part of the Locked Tomb series.
Okay.
It is about lesbian necromancers in space.
I think my friend Glow has read this book.
They're very good.
I think she may have read this book. Do they have like, is the sex that they have described?
It's not, it takes a while to get to the sex.
Okay.
It's much more, like the first one is a little, not that they're children, but they're like young adults.
Oh, God. Okay.
But she is like, the main character, Gideon, is like, I want that vagina, please, please, please. And like doesn't stop talking about it. And it's like this like fun butch. But why I brought that up was I at this point in my life very rarely read books by straight cis white men anymore.
Yeah.
And I realized so much of the books I was reading were already by women, people of color, queer people, because a lot of those people are in those spaces. So I truly believe I will advocate that there is a sci-fi, hard or soft, book for everyone.
Oh, I'm sure. Because, okay, so it's interesting that you say the thing about empathy, because I had read a book sort of towards the end of the year, and the main character, I didn't love it. The main character was not doing it for you. Not doing it for me, and I was kind of like upset about it. I got really upset about it. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I need to read something that's just going to cleanse
your
my
other
talent.
book.
Well, actually, no. This is this is continuing my fiction. No.
Oh, fiction.
Like,
got it.
I'm on my fiction journey, like in my fiction world. So I read that book and I was like, I'm kind of mad about this, but I just need something to cleanse my palate because the book wasn't bad. I had such a
bad experience.
I had a bad experience with it, and so one of my friends had been recommending the Murderbot series for so long.
It's on my list. You
haven't read it?
No, I haven't read it yet.
You have to read it because I read like the first 3 chapters and I was like, this fucking like humanoid robot thing has more character development in the 3 chapters of this book that I've read than anything in that last book that I read. I was so and it was truly eye-opening for me, and I was like, I do think I need to read more sci-fi. I mean, right now I'm going to be reading probably more of the Murderbot series because it was so good.
Sure. Yeah, there's some, amazing sci-fi out there that doesn't have to be like super hard sci-fi. Now, I do read that. As if you look up, I have the Wandering Earth, Shishin Lu, which is they turned a Netflix show, 3 Body Problem.
Oh yeah,
which I love that series.
Did you?
Yeah, the second book is my favorite of it. But so I read across the board.
Did you read Station 11?
I did. It was given to me as a gift.
I really that is a great example of a book that I really struggled to get through most of.
I can agree with that
until. I don't know if I should say no spoilers. But I'm not going to because until they get to the terminal section.
Yes, sure.
All of a sudden it turned around and I was so glad I stuck with it. And thank God I had a nonfiction.
I will stick with books. You're right. I think this is kind of the thing. It just I could definitely do this with 2 fiction books. Like I said, I think I.
You don't think you could do it with a nonfiction?
I just don't. I think I would have a nonfiction audiobook.
Can I give you some recommendations of nonfiction? Okay,
please.
So this is one of my favorite authors of all time. His name is Eric Larson, and his most famous book was Devil in the White City.
Okay.
I feel like everybody's heard of that book. It's about the kind of Chicago World's Fair, and also there was like some serial killer that was like on the loose there. And he does a fantastic job of usually tying 2 stories that you're like, how do these connect? And just kind of like, sometimes they're just simultaneously happening, but sometimes they like connect and intersperse, and it's very fascinating and it's crazy. But I have never, ever not read one of his books, and I constantly have to like pinch myself and be like, this really happened. Because he's such a brilliant storyteller that it's unbelievable.
It's like reading fiction almost.
It's truly like reading fiction.
See, I could get into that, I think. A lot easier.
I think, yeah, he's so good. I mean, I could give you recommendations of which ones to
but
start with.
You're just like any of them.
Any of them will do. I actually think his most popular one, Devil in the White City, is one that I was like,
Meh.
Great.
That's usually how it is. I mean, to be fair, most of the time, people's like favorite book from an author or like the most recommended book is like the most accessible one.
Yes.
And you want them to get a little weird and their nuances and stuff like that. It's why I never trust anyone who, for lots of reasons, but anyone who's like, my favorite book, Harry Potter. Because you know what that tells me? You'd have never read a book. If that's your favorite book, your reading is not good. Now, I understand a millennial who holds that book as a special thing.
I am one of those people.
Fully understand that. I read them as a kid. I was the exact right age.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're not literature for me, and I was reading obviously like much more advanced books, but I understand like having a space in your heart. If you say that's your favorite, you don't read books.
No, I think what it is that's your favorite like franchise.
Sure.
That's your favorite thing that has, because you read those books and you were like, well, surely they're going to turn this into a series that is going to become somebody's personality for the rest of their lives.
Mm-hmm. Read another book.
Read
any other book.
I don't think I own the books anymore, but I do love during the holidays that it's on TV.
Sure.
And I love throwing it on and watching it.
Yeah,
I love the memes that have come of it now.
Of course.
They're so much fun.
No, it's culture.
It is culture. Sure. It's culture. That's the better way to say it.
Yeah.
Like you can read this thing and it's like, okay, this is part of culture now.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it's good literature.
No, not at all. It's bad. I found out recently, Neil Gaiman wrote a comic book about 6 years before that was about a boy who went to a magic school, had a scar on his head, and the illustration, because it was a comic book, looked exactly like Harry Potter.
Stop it.
Look it up.
I mean,
Neil Gaiman, but, not like J.K. Rowling is a peach of a person.
Well, but there's also, like, I feel like sometimes that happens with art and artists where you almost don't even realize you've been influenced by
of course.
Person,
Sure. But it was... I wrote it on a napkin and I planned it from the beginning. Okay. Jaydan, it's been lovely having you here. Lovely. And I think, you make a really good case for this 2-book.
At the end of the day, I could go on with many arguments, but it's just that sometimes books are bad and it's nice to
read a good book and help.
Yeah.
Help you get through the other book.
Yeah.
Because reading is sometimes in this world already hard enough.
Yeah.
Why make it harder?
Yeah.
Well, where can our listeners find you?
You can find me all over social media at Gay Malsky, GayMalsky. And I wish I had something fun to promote, but everything I promote is there. So.
Yeah, exactly. We like to make it easy for people. Yeah. People are lazy.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to give you so many recommendations for my favorite nonfiction.
I can't wait. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. You can leave 5 stars on Spotify. That's always a fun thing. And thank you once again to Jaydan and Heather.
Thank you.
Join us next time as we once again prove that my opinion is always correct about everything all the time.